Hello everybody. We will now bring this beautiful landing page design to life by implementing its HTML and CSS structure. I found it in this very convenient website landingfolio.com. Link will be in the description. Let's start by creating our HTML. We will wrap the whole app in a div and will divide it in two landmark elements: header and main. Our header will contain our logo brand and the user interaction actions. In the main element we will have hero section and two additional sections for which I will come up with names later on. Our logo brand will be held by h1 element since it will only be text. We will wrap the two actions in a div and will create two buttons for them. Moving on, we should now add some styles. Let's change the background color and pick it from the design using the DevTools color picker. Let's also separate the different styles in different sections. I will create some helper classes to be used for later when we do layout of the sections. Deflex will set the display to flex. Justify center will set the justify content property to center, and align center will set the align items property. Now let's make the brand text white. Let's remove those default styles and download a reset CSS. Create new file and import it from our HTML. By design, all the text on the page was centered, so I'll add the align text property to the whole body with a value of center. Let's also style the title of our brand and increase the size and weight of the font. Moving on to the buttons on the right. Let's remove the background and border first. Also, change the color to white and make it bolder. Now let's add the additional styles to the join the waitlist button. Let's first take the exact color. Then add some padding and border radius of 40 pixels, as well as some margin on the left side. Let's also limit the width of the content by adding a new container class that will set the max width property on an element and will center it relative to its parent, similar to the concept of a fluid container from Bootstrap. Move all layout classes from the header element to the new container and even introduce new helper class, justify between, which will set the justify content property to the space between value. Also, make the height of the container fill the available space, so the align center class could work. Adding small padding on the left and right will look good for mobile screen sizes. Moving on to the hero section. I will again wrap it with the container div, so we will have the needed width. Let's add the hero class and style the container by setting the background color, which will be the same as the one used for the header. Inside, we will have again a h1 for the main title and a paragraph element for the subtitle text. Let's use some auto-generated text. I don't like how are they currently aligned, so I will add new helper class to set the flex direction property of the content to column. We will reuse the join the waitlist button and restyle it a little bit later on. We will also add an image tag where we will display the UI image of the product. I already took a screenshot of the Twitter UI, but you can find one of your choice. Let's add some colors to the text so they are readable with this background. We want the title to be bigger, so 4 rem of font size will look better. Let's make it bolder as well. For the subtitle I set 1.5 rem for the font size. The auto-generated text seems too long. I think it should also occupy less width. Let's now add some space between the elements. I will use a helper div with a class spacer to which I will add margin top of 40 pixels. Next, let's override some of the button colors so it will contrast well with the background. Let's remove the fixed height of the hero section and style the image. I will limit its width to 80% of its parent and add border radius of 20 pixels. I think I will skip those white blocks that are by design and instead will add some perspective to the image, so I will wrap it in a div element. Let's add a perspective of 800 pixels and rotate the image around the horizontal axis by 25 degrees. Hero section seems to be done, so let's move to the next. Again, we need the container class to limit the width. I think this is a picture demo of the product, and more specifically a rooms feature, so I will call it demo rooms. Basically, it will again hold a H1 element for the title and a paragraph for the subtitle. Here, we need something like a sliding navigation, so I will use an unordered list and will fill the list items later. I will again add the demo image from the hero section. It's time to style the new elements. Let's also not forget to add the spaces. Let's add some items to the sliding navigation. The deflex will position them in the correct order. It is time for some styles. Padding will increase the space between the items. By design, the element have nice shadow, so let's add it also. I will use an online CSS shadow generator for this purpose. Give it a border radius of 50 pixels. Finally, add an active class to the first item and style it so it looks like it is selected. Keep in mind that if you decide to add a JavaScript animations to the navigation, this might not be the best HTML structure. Instead, you should have an absolutely positioned element which will be moved by JavaScript. This sections looks to be done also. Let's move to the last one. As with the previous sections, we will again start by wrapping the content in the container class and set the property layout helper classes to position the elements. Let's again pick the color from the design and give the section a class named demo player. Set the picked color as background color and some height to see it rendered. Now, the layout is different for the first time because we have two blocks next to each other compared to the previous sections in which all the blocks were one below the other. Let's create two div elements for our blocks, which will take 50% of width each. I will style them with a red border and some height so they can be visible while doing the layout. Remove the column class and they should render next to each other. On the left side we should display just an image of a player UI and position it at the center of its parent. On the right, the layout is similar to the previous sections. The structure is just H1 followed by paragraph and the spacer elements between. We should now have a layout similar to the one by design. We can now remove the red borders. By design, the background contains circles of different shades of the yellow, so let's add them. For this purpose, I will create a div element which will be positioned absolutely. We will have to move the padding to the inner container which holds our elements, so the background div could fill the size of its parent. Let's create the two divs that will represent our circles and position them in the center. Give them height and width, border radius of 50% and a red border, and see if they are rendered correctly. As we see, they should have a fixed size, and it should be bigger of their parents, so they could look like they are cut at the top and bottom. To achieve this, I will set an overflow hidden to the background div, and will give the circle's width and height of 800 pixels. Also, the size of the middle circle should be bigger. Pick the exact colors and set them to the two circles. In the next couple of minutes, I struggled to position them one above the other. Finally, I was able to do so by setting relative position to the container which holds the image and the text and increased its z-index. Also, don't forget to remove the background of the section element. Finally, let's add a media query for smaller screens. We need the two blocks that are next to each other to stand one above the other and fill the available width. Thank you all for watching. Please smash the like button, comment and subscribe to the channel.